Wendy? There's only one story about Wendy, and that's when they first got married. And she wanted to kind of get involved in the types of things that Don did, so
Oh, great.
she thought, well, what are you interested in? And he said, well, you know, I like to hunt. Hunting's kind of fun.
Can you just turn it on and leave it on?
Pardon me, Ken.
You have to hold it.
And so he took her out, and they shot a few traps, a few skeet. She was pretty good at that. And he took her to a rifle range and shot a deer rifle at some targets and some silhouettes, and did a pretty good job. So decided to take her out hunting one day.
Going?
And he said, all right now, honey, when we see a deer, what I'll do is I'll go flush him by you, and you shoot at him. So they were out walking through the woods, and they heard this rustling out in the woods, and he said, okay, this is it. You stay here, Wendy, in this draw here. I'll go out, and I'll just shoot this deer right past you. When it goes by, you shoot it. And he said, be careful, though, because sure as hell, as soon as you shoot it, there's going to be another person. There's hunters all over out here, and they'll run up and they'll say, hey, that was my kill, that's my deer. So as soon as you shoot it, run over and claim it for yourself. So he sneaked off around and rattled the bushes, and he heard something charging off through the bushes, and bam, bam, a couple of shots, and sure as hell about a minute afterwards he heard people yelling and screaming, all this commotion down by where the shots had come from. So he went down there, and here was Wendy with her gun out, and another hunter backed up against a tree. She had her gun right to his throat. He was saying, okay, lady, it's your deer, that's fine, but let me get the saddle off it first. True story. Well, we are lucky today to have some representatives. There's always the old and there's the new, something that we'll lose and something we'll gain. Today we have a representative here. We've asked the Samurai sales reps to come back and give us a little idea of what it's like to sell in Hong Kong, some of their training procedures and some of the old ways and some of the new. We have the Grand Master and two grasshoppi here with us today. So I will turn it over to the Grand Master. Here we go. Well, at this time, somebody asked me what's it like having Don leave after, I don't know, how many years have I been following you through this office? 11 years. I said, it's kind of like getting rid of athlete's foot. So the itching goes away, or it's like your hemorrhoids have finally healed or something. What I'd like to do now, in a semi-serious note, is ask Don and Wendy to come up here and give us their rendition of the first time they went to Hong Kong and where they're going to live and some real things about what's going to happen over there, because I'm kind of curious about what's new. So you two would come up and tell us about the stink on the elevator that day or whatever, the crowded people. And also I have a set of keys here. Anybody recognize these? Somebody's not going to go home tonight if they don't.
Yeah. Is there chairs up here? Well, what do you want to hear about? Well, that's about it. Any questions? I got to tell you about Wendy's first impression of Hong Kong, because this was pretty good. It ends up that the first night we were in Hong Kong, we went out to dinner with Bob Patera, who some of you know. Bob is a sales guy from the Los Angeles area that just moved over to Hong Kong in January. And he wanted to, impress us with how nice Hong Kong was. He's been there for 6 months now and is really enjoying it, and wanted to show us a good time. So he said he'd like to take us out to dinner. And we've been good personal friends with Bob for a long time. And so the three of us got together, and he said, I got a great restaurant to take you to. And it's very close to your hotel, so we can walk there. Well, we started walking. And as we were walking around, Bob said, this is the first time that somebody hasn't been hosting me. And it's the first time I've really been out on my own. And it became a little obvious as we started looping around, looking for the restaurant. Well, we looked for about an hour for the restaurant. We never could find it. We never found it, but we found another restaurant. And actually, we tried one, and it was full, and then we found another one. And you think a restaurant's full. Well, that's a sign that it's a great restaurant, right? You have to find an empty restaurant in Hong Kong. That's the thing that's next to impossible because every restaurant is just jam-packed. Anyway, we found this one restaurant, and great big fancy sign out front, and it looked really nice, and had fish swimming in the tank up front, you know, and all that. And this ought to be a good one. So we went into that one, and as we got in there, Wendy was wondering what that unusual smell was that as we were walking in. It ends up it's some type of herb that they use in Chinese cooking that wasn't an herb. I don't know what it was, but it was. I'd never smelled anything like it before, and it didn't make Wendy feel too good. In any case, we got up there and we sat down to dinner, and everybody was eating. Have you ever had those hot pot dinners where they have a boiling brew in the middle and you dip food in them? That's no microwaves, no microwaves. They have this big bowl and it's split in half, and there's some type of boiling concoction in there, and you dip your food into it and cook it in the brew. It's called hot pot. Very creative dinner. And we didn't know exactly what to order, so we ordered up. We said, "Give us your best seafood platter, fresh fish." And they said, "Great, Doc." So that was all fine. And then Wendy was having a little trouble with the smell, but she was putting up with it. And we could tell we were the only non-local people in the whole place. Yeah, it was very obvious. Well, they brought the platter, and I thought it was pretty nice, but Wendy didn't care for it too much. The layout was, they had obviously just taken one fish straight out of the tank, and they used something like that knife over there and cut it into nice little pieces and ready to dip, with his head there with his eyeballs moving around. And then she didn't like that too much, but the part she really didn't like is that they'd taken some live shrimp and they'd skewered them on these skewers, and they had them sticking outside of this thing. There was about 12 of them up there just going, "What did I do to deserve this?" And that put her right through the ceiling. She didn't partake in any dinner that night. And it was really good food. It actually was very tasty. But the problem is that Bob and I both got sick, and Wendy didn't get sick the next day. So anyway, that was step number one. Step number two is, well, we're kind of burnt out, and we got jet lag and all this, and we said, well, let's just go home. And Bob said, fine. He got us on the roads, and of course he's a new driver in Hong Kong too. Well, he got on the wrong road, heading out of town, and he said, well, we're halfway there. Why don't I show you my apartment? And this was about 12:30, 1 o'clock at night. And so we decided to go ahead and do that, and we went out to his apartment. And you have to remember that in this restaurant, the smell was pretty raunchous. And then we got on a ferry and went across over to Kowloon, and the smells there were, the harbor doesn't smell real good because, of the things they do with it. And we went over to his apartment, and we got into his elevator. And boy, I'll tell you, there was a smell there that would knock me over. And Wendy was about green to the gills at this point, and she goes, Bob, what's that smell? And he said, what smell? And he said, it must be Hong Kong. So we sat in his hotel room, and he's a bachelor, of course, so he had nothing on the walls, pretty blank room. It was very nice, but your basic room. And we went back to the hotel, and first thing that happened when we got to the hotel room was Wendy burst out into tears and said, we're not moving to Hong Kong. I can't stand the smells, and maybe I could stand them, but I am not going to put my children through these smells. And I said, now wait a minute, I don't have a job in Bellevue anymore. It got me a little bit worried. Anyway, fortunately, that was the last bad smell we smelled, believe it or not. And from then on, it was good. And to this day, we don't know what the smell in Bob's apartment was, but I've been back there, and it's not there anymore. Couple facts relative to what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be the Asia Pacific Marketing Center Manager for the Far East for test and measurement, so back to my roots. And I'm going to be responsible for the marketing programs for all the divisions for the Far East sales region as well as Australasia. So they call that the Asia Pacific. So that means Australia, New Zealand, India. I can't wait to go to India. I guess there is a record that still runs that there's nobody that's visited India yet that hasn't gotten sick. So I can hardly wait. And it also includes all of the Far East countries except for Japan. And we're going to be living in Repulse Bay. And repulse means shallow in Chinese. And in English, you know what it means. And we're going to be on the 23rd floor with a great ocean view. It's really pretty nice. And we did go skiing there, as it ends up.
You can tell people proudly that Repulse is named after the HMS Repulse. That was a great battleship. Really.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's a great name.
I'm glad to hear that. We are hearing from a Hong Kong expert because she went to school there at Hong Kong International School, which is where our kids hopefully will be going. Our daughter's class is full, but we're hoping to get them in there. And that's a great international school. I guess it's one of the better schools in Hong Kong. Is that right?
Definitely.
And my office is on the 30th floor of a building down in the downtown area in the Bond Center in central Hong Kong. And it's right now I have a 50-minute commute, and over there I'll have about a 15-minute commute. So that's kind of nice. and I tried to hide this from Wendy. It ends up when you're on a foreign assignment, the wife can use this HP car and all that. Well, the first thing Wendy found out is that there's a bus that goes from our apartment right to the Bond Center. So guess what she wants me to do? Yeah, Wendy, I've already hired Edna, our maid. Yeah. And it's considered bad etiquette if you don't have a maid over there. So in spite of the fact that I really didn't want a maid, Wendy did. No, actually, that's going to be a good deal because that'll free up Wendy to be able to take some vacations with me. Yeah, that's right. Spend all my money. And let's see, the office there is about 250 people, so it's about the same size as the Bellevue office, but it's located on the 22nd through the 30th floor of a high-rise. So it's pretty hard to have a get-together there. It's pretty spread out floor to floor. Everything's stacked up there. And one thing, I don't know, how many people have been to Hong Kong? Yeah, you know, the first thing that impressed me, I don't know, I'd be interested in checking with everybody, was the enormity. I've never seen more high-rises in my life in one place, and they're all skinny. They're about 5 feet around and about a mile tall. And most of the people that are locals that live there live in very, very small apartments in these, 50th floor or something, and it's really amazing. And then the second thing that hits you is how could you pack so many people into such a small place? And the third thing that hits you is how could so many people be so unconscious of the environment? Because, the normal thing is they dump stuff on the streets, and then they say, well, people have jobs to pick that up. That's the that's the mentality of the local community, which is kind of strange. They're working real hard to fix that, but that's one thing that took a little getting used to on our first trip, because that's quite a bit different from what we're used to here in Seattle. And other than, once you get over those three things, which are, kind of redefine what my definition of the worst that it could possibly be was, then it starts being pretty neat. And the shopping's great. There's not as many bargains as there used to be. The shopping for clothes and for jewelry are the hot items, and locks, which I brought back for Gary. Suits are, yeah, there's an HP Taylor, although the HP Taylor moved, is in his up.
I heard the HP Jewelers coming back, Marianne.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, so
We're going to send our ties to you.
and counter to popular belief, stereo equipment is not a deal over there. I've done a bunch of shopping for that, and you can get about the same price here as there.
Taking all your CDs?
Yep. Sorry.
Two moving vans, huh?
Yeah, I've been taking them over on every trip. Any questions about Hong Kong? Or
How much the office is paying?
let's see. There's about 250 people, and there's about 60 foreign service employees. So the rest are locals. Reading my lips. So that makes about 190, I guess.
How much traveling will you be doing?
I'll be traveling probably about 50% of the time and covering, which is no big deal after the job I just had. And I'll be covering from Pakistan to Australia to China to Taiwan, Korea, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, etc. And no Japan. Japan's a separate entity over there. Oh, that's an interesting deal. The language is that's spoken in Hong Kong is Cantonese, but the rest of China speaks Mandarin. So if you learn a local language, you learn it for a relatively small base, but if you learn Mandarin, you can't speak to the people that you work next to. So that's actually a real problem. English actually is your best bet. Lucky for us. Because in the business community, just about everybody speaks English. But we're gonna try and get our kids to learn Mandarin because it's a lot more popular language. And Wendy's gonna learn Mandarin, Cantonese, Taiwanese, Korean, and English. That's what I figure. Thank God, no, they don't have Nordstrom's. But they have Nordstrom's suppliers, which is a lot better deal. There's 6 million people crammed into a pretty small geographical location. I don't know exactly what the square miles are, but it's all. The island of Hong Kong's bigger than that. It's probably what, 20 miles long? You know how big it is? I don't either. It's small for that many people. It's compact. Although it's amazing, there's a lot of greenery and mountainous areas just because it goes up into the hills pretty quick. So there's a lot of green there.
You got the Victoria Peak, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh, what a view! That's amazing. They have this peak on Hong Kong Island that just gives you an incredible panoramic view. There's some incredible views around there. And just as you get outside of Hong Kong, it's almost uninhabited. So it's real interesting. Hong Kong actually has a zillion islands all around. Well, while I got the microphone, I would like to say it's been great for the last 11 years. It's pretty nostalgic for me to leave this place because really all of my HP friends are in this building, and I want to say thank you for a great decade, and I'll be back, so don't forget about me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.